Hey, Emily, it's Marcy Gonzalez from News One. How are you? How's it going? I'm good, thanks. I'm trying to call into your IFB number and it's not working.
Person from Virginia stand.
As the member designated by Dr. Schreier, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Dr. Schreier will vote yes on HJ Res 107. No, Mitchell.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida rise?
As the member designated by Mr. Lawson pursuant to HR 965, I inform the House that Mr. Lawson will vote yes on HR Resolution 107. As the member designated by Ms. Castor pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Ms. Castor will vote yes on Resolution 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Maryland rise?
Jayapal, pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House Ms. Jayapal will vote aye on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. Pocan, pursuant to HR 965, I inform the House Mr. Pocan votes aye on House Joint Resolution 107. As the member designated by Mr. Doggett of Texas, pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Mr. Doggett votes aye on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. McNerney, pursuant to HR 965, I inform the House that Mr. McNerney votes aye on HJ Res 107. And as the member designated by Ms. Fletcher, pursuant to H Res 965, I inform the House that Ms. Fletcher will vote aye on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does a general person from Colorado rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Joe Neguse of Colorado, pursuant to HRS 965, I inform the House that Mr. Neguse will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does a general person from Connecticut rise?
Mr. Speaker, as member designated by Mr. Adam Smith from Washington State, pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Mr. Smith will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Michigan rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Ryan of Ohio, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Ryan will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. Kilmer of Washington, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Kilmer will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. Heck of Washington, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Heck will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Lawrence of Michigan, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Lawrence will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. Peters of California, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Peters will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Michigan rise?
As the member designated by Dr. Ruiz of California pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Ruiz will vote aye on HJ Resolution 107.
From Kansas. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Kansas rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Howland, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Howland will vote aye on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. Kim, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Kim will vote aye on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Axney, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Axney will vote aye on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. DeFazio, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. DeFazio will vote aye on HJ Res 107. And as the member designated by Mr. Cleaver, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Cleaver will vote aye on HJ Res 107.
gentleman from California rise?
Mr. Speaker, as a member designated by Ms. Eshoo pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Eshoo will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
You want a minute? For what purpose does the gentlelady from Texas rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Escobar of Texas pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Ms. Escobar will vote yes on HJ Res 107. Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Robal Allard of California pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Ms. Robal Allard will vote yes on House J Res 107. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California rise?
Mr. Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Garamendi of California, pursuant to House Res 965, I inform the House that Mr. Garamendi will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Minnesota rise?
Mr. Speaker, as a member designated by Ms. Craig of Minnesota pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Member Craig will vote yes on HJ Resolution 107. As a member designated by Mr. Peterson of Minnesota pursuant to H Resolution 965, I inform the House that Mr. Peterson will vote yes on HJ Resolution 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Massachusetts rise?
Mr. Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Welsh of Vermont pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Welsh will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. Kennedy of Massachusetts pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Kennedy will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Connecticut rise?
As the member designated by Ms. Wilson pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Wilson will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Massachusetts rise?
As the member designated by Ms. Brownlee pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Brownlee will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Bonamici pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Bonamici will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Frankel pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Frankel will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Meng pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Mang will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from New Jersey rise?
As the member designated by Mr. Lamb pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Lamb will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
Purpose is the gentlelady from Delaware rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. DeGette of Colorado pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Ms. DeGette will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
What purpose does the gentlelady from California rise?
Mr. Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Desaulniers pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Desaulniers will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
What purpose does the gentlelady from Pennsylvania rise?
As the member designated by Ms. Wild pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Ms. Wild will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Spear pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Ms. Spear will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Davis pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Ms. Davis will vote yes on HJ Res 107. And as the member designated by Ms. Dean pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Ms. Dean will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
Ready? For what purpose does the gentlelady from Virginia rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the member designated by Mr. McEachin pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Mr. McEachin will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Ms. Porter pursuant to House Resolutions 965, I inform the House that Ms. Porter will vote yes on HJ Res 107. And as the member designated by Mr. Allred pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Mr. Allred will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Hawaii stand?
As the member designated by Mr. Gates pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Gates will vote nay on HJRes 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Bonnie Watson Coleman pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Watson Coleman will vote yes on HJRes 107. And as the member designated by Mr. Albio Series pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Series will vote yes on HJRes 107. And Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Bill Pascrell pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Pascrell will vote yes on HJRes 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Virginia rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Titus of Nevada, pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Titus will vote yes on HJRes 107.
Thank you. For what purpose does the gentleman from Rhode Island rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Pingree, Chair of the Congressional Arts Caucus of Maine, pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Ms. Pingree will vote yes on House Resolution 107. Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Sewell of Alabama, pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Ms. Sewell will vote yes on House Resolution 107. Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Del Bene of Washington State, pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Ms. Del Bene will vote yes on House Resolution 107.
Ready? For what purpose does the gentleman from California rise?
Mr. Speaker, as a member designated by Dr. Barra pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Dr. Barra will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
This is gentleman from Massachusetts rise.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. As the member designated by the Honorable Mr. James Langevin of Rhode Island and pursuant to House Resolution 965, I'd like to inform the House that Mr. Langevin will vote yes on House Resolution 107, further additional Continuing Appropriations Act of 2021. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from New York rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Kelly pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Ms. Kelly will vote yes on HRES 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Illinois rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Grijalva, pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Grijalva will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the member designated by Mr. Gottheimer pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Gottheimer will vote aye on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Virginia rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Moore pursuant to HRES 965, inform the House that Ms. Moore will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Mr. Kind pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Kind will vote yes on HRES 107. As the member designated by Mr. Veazey pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Veazey will vote yes on HRES 107. As the member designated by Mr. Cohen pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Cohen will vote yes on HRES 107. As the member designated by Ms. Barragan pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Ms. Barragan will vote yes on HRES 107. As the member designated by Mr. Blumenauer pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Blumenauer will vote yes on HRES 107, HJ Res. As the member designated by Mr. Lowenthal pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Lowenthal will vote yes on HJ Res 107. And as the member designated by Mr. Liu pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Liu will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentleman from North Carolina rise?
Mr. Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Price of North Carolina pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Price will vote yes. He will vote yes on HJ Res 107. As a member designated by Mr. Richmond of Louisiana pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Richmond will vote yes on H Joint Resolution 107.
For what purpose does gentleman from New York rise?
As the member designated by Chairwoman Zoe Lofgren pursuant to HRS 965, I inform the House that Chairwoman Lofgren will vote yea on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Chairwoman Eddie Bernice Johnson pursuant to HRS 965, I inform the House that Chairwoman Johnson will vote yea on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Chairman Jerry Nadler pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Chairman Nadler will vote yea on HJ Res 107. As the member designated by Congressman Jose Serrano pursuant to HRS 965, I inform the House that Congressman Serrano will vote yea on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does gentlelady from New York rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Deutsch of Florida pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Deutsch will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Mucasel Powell of Florida pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Ms. Mucasel Powell will vote yea on HJ Res 107. And Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Hastings of Florida pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Hastings will also vote yea on HJ Res 107. And Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Payne of New Jersey pursuant to HRes 965, I inform the House that Mr. Payne will also vote yea on HJ Res 107.
What purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, as member designated by Congressmember Napolitano pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Congressmember Napolitano will vote yes on HA Res 107. And Mr. Speaker, as member designated by Congressmember Costa pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Congressmember Costa will vote yes on HJ Res 107. And Mr. Speaker, as member designated by Congressmember Vargas pursuant to House Resolution 965, I inform the House that Congressmember Vargas will vote yes on HJ Res 107. For what purposes, gentleman from New Jersey, rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. John Shimkus pursuant to HRES 965, I inform the House that Mr. Shimkus will vote yes on HJ Res 107.
For what purpose does gentlelady from Illinois rise?
As a member designated by Mr. Rush pursuant to H.Res. 965, I inform the House that Mr. Rush will vote yes on H.J.Res. 107. As a member designated by Ms. Finkenauer pursuant to H.Res. 965, I inform the House that Ms. Finkenauer will vote yes on H.J.Res. 107. As a member designated by Ms. Schakowsky pursuant to H.Res. 965, I inform the House that Ms. Schakowsky will vote yes on H.J.Res. 107.
Premature. Bishopkowski goes aye by proxy. Mr. Rush votes aye by proxy. Did you vote for yourself? Yes, okay. Ms. McDowell goes aye by proxy.
Have all members voted? Does any member wish to change their vote?
All right, I vote for Mr. Crawford, Montville on aye, Mr. Lanner, and Mr. Walden. Thank you.
On the vote, the yeas are 320 and the nays are 60. Recorded as present, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The joint resolution is agreed to, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. This is the gentleman from Maryland rise.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to speak out of order for 1 minute, revise,
Without
extend. Mr.
Without
Speaker,
objection.
thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I want to notify all the members, and we will certainly do that by electronic or by email as well, but that the negotiators are trying to come to an agreement between the two parties in the House and the Senate as well, are still working very hard to reach agreement both on the omnibus so that we will be able to fund the government through September 30th of this coming year, and on the response to COVID-19, both from a health standpoint and from an economic standpoint. We are hopeful that they will reach agreement in the near future. They have not reached one yet. There are still some significant issues outstanding. And in light of that, I'm announcing that there will be no votes tomorrow. Even if an agreement were reached late tonight, the administrative work necessary to put that agreement, to memorialize it in a bill, would take at least 18 hours or thereabouts, so that the first and next votes that would be anticipated would be at 1. This is a change. Some people had heard 2, and I had used 2, but we're accelerating that to 1 p.m. on Sunday. Members will receive 2 hours notice for that vote. So that would mean if it is at 1 p.m., you will receive a notice at 11 a.m. That ought to give time for members who are obviously, most of whom are going to be staying in town if they don't live close by. We'll give them time to go to worship and then come to the House floor. But no votes before 1 p.m. on Sunday, this coming Sunday. And notice will be given with 2 hours prior to 1 p.m., so by 11. And I yield back the balance of my time.
This is gentleman from California, seek recognition. This is gentleman from California, seek recognition.
Unanimous consent to address House 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks, Mr. Speaker.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
This week in 1773, Sam Adams and the Sons of Liberty organized the Boston Tea Party, one of the most iconic protests in American history. They dumped 342 chests of tea into the Boston Harbor in an uprising against an oppressive government and taxation tyranny. 3 years ago this month, Republicans built upon our founders' ideals and passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. We delivered pro-growth, pro-jobs, pro-America policies to end the economic slowdown of the previous administration. Following tax reform, the middle class experienced record financial growth. Household income soared by nearly 8%, and Americans had a greater say over their own paychecks. Our founders knew lower taxes would be better for the economy in 1773,
The Republicans proved that through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 3 years ago, that Sam Adams and the Sons of Liberty were correct. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is now recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today mindful that I only have a few moments to address this body from the podium, so I ask unanimous consent to place extended remarks and materials into the record.
Action.
As we turn our attention next week to Christmas, many of us are sending and awaiting cards and packages. Let us not forget the postal workers who deliver more than 155 billion pieces of mail per year, which this year included our ballots in an election that saw the largest turnout in 100 years. For their work and commitment this season and every holiday season, and for their extraordinary service to our country during the pandemic, I support overtime pay for these important civil servants. And another institution very old in our republic, while not as old as the Postal Service, is Morris Brown College. Let us resolve to support Morris Brown College and contribute to the revitalization of the Atlanta University Center. As we seek to revitalize Morris Brown College, let us also consider ways to renew our urban centers. A way to do that is urban farming. It can deliver produce at a lower cost, leaving families to spend on other costs of living like housing. It can also be good for the environment as it can reduce CO2 emissions attended with transporting food from faraway farms to urban centers. And while we do this and we emerge from this pandemic, we must lift as we rise, and that is why we must ensure minority and women-owned businesses see increased participation in our society. One of the items I will be placing in the record is a news story from about 27 former African-American franchisees who are suing McDonald's, a legendary business, for discrimination against its own franchises. We must ensure that all in this nation have the promise of the American dream, free from discrimination. And finally, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll yield back my time. Thanks.
Thank you. What purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks as necessary.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor the life of floriculturist and philanthropist Andy Matsui, who recently passed at the age of 85. After being born and raised in the family of farmers in Japan, Andy got an educational visa to go to California and study agriculture. He liked it so much that he bought some land and established a nursery in the Salinas Valley in my district. Andy produced orchids and pioneered the sale of potted orchids in stores. Today, the Matsui Nursery has one of the greatest selection of orchids in the entire world. But Andy didn't just grow flowers, he grew the future for many. Andy said that education is the only way to change things in this world. That's why he and his wife established the Matsui Foundation to provide scholarships to countless students. And Andy believed in our home by encouraging those students to not just study, but to stay and give back to the Central Coast of California. Our prayers are with his family, and may Andy Matsui rest in peace with the satisfaction that he left us with magnificent beauty from his orchids and a magnanimous bounty for our community. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Thank you. Chair is prepared to entertain special order speeches.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Pursuant to Section 4B of the House Resolution 967, the House stands adjourned until noon on Sunday, December 20th, 2020.